Herbert Wigwe has an immense banking history with over 25 years of experience. He's one man that has begun a revolution in the Nigerian banking sector. Through various initiatives, he has influenced the creative sector and empowered many women. He is also a philanthropist whose dream is to elevate thousands of children from poverty. Herbert and I sat down to discuss his vision to stimulate the country's growth, his love for art, and what it truly means to be successful. Charming and stylish, he's one of the most prominent bank CEOs in Africa. His career in financial services spans more than 2 decades, and his expertise has helped develop some of Africa's biggest companies. Mr. Herbert Wigwe began his professional career with Coopers & Lybrand Associates, an international firm of chartered accountants. He spent over 10 years at Guarantee Trust Bank, where he managed several portfolios. In March 2002, Herbert and his partner, Aig-Imoukhuede, co-led the transformation of Acesss Bank. He managed the bank for over 12 years before his appointment as Group Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer in January 2014.
Aig remains a very important part of the family, as always. He is helping to ensure and provide guidance as far as governance and all of that is concerned. He will remain a critical sounding board for me for as long as I'm here, and trying to make sure that we create an institution that will truly outlive each and every one of us. We worked together, first of all, in GT, which was our former life, and we remain ever so proud of that institution that basically provided us the foundation for entrepreneurial skills, even though they existed, but nurturing them was some of the things that we picked out of there. At the time at which we came into Acesss, we're the 69th bank or 70th bank in the market. Now, it was clear to us that world over, the top 5 banks will control or dominate as far as market share is concerned. It holds true in every continent.
Mr. Wigwe is an alumni of the Harvard Business School and holds a master's degree in banking and international finance from the University College of North Wales. It is no wonder that he now heads one of the largest banks in Africa and Nigeria's biggest lender by assets. In addition to his cumulative banking and academic profile, Mr. Wigwe is also heavily invested in the creative art scene. His collection of artworks extends through his home, workspace, and lifestyle. Hello, Herbert.
Yes, Oji, please come in.
Thank you for having us today.
Thank you.
Oh my God, I could be fooled that we're in a gallery.
Well, we enjoy collecting, and so this represents some of the pieces that we have, so yes.
I can see you're such a huge art lover. What is your favorite piece in this room?
I think each piece means something to me. I like all of them for different reasons. You know, there are several that inspire me, but I think I kind of like each and every one of them for a different reason.
What is your must-have artwork?
My must-have artwork? Different, difficult to say, but I think I have a lot of Ben Enwonwu's, you know, because he did great pieces.
Trick question. You just said Ben Enwonwu, so I'll ask you, the Mona Lisa or Ben Enwonwu's tutu?
If you're African, it's Africa's Mona Lisa, and tutu is truly beautiful. It's a beautiful piece, beautiful, and a lot of history behind it, by the way.
Can we take a walk towards your gallery/office? Because I see, walking in here, I saw so many art pieces that you have. But before we do that, what gives you joy?
What gives me joy? Watching my people be the best that they can be.
What was the last country you visited?
Ghana.
Why Ghana?
We do have a business there, and so I go quite often. We have meetings out there, yes.
Do you have your phone with you?
Not here.
Where's your phone?
It's in my office.
Can we have someone get his phone for me? So you have your phone right here. All right. So tell me, how much time do you spend on social media?
It depends on what you mean. If it is on WhatsApp messages, on WhatsApp, I would say cumulatively in a day, maybe, what would you say, 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours?
Really? Twitter or Instagram?
No, Twitter more like.
All right. In a tweet, tell your followers something people don't know about you.
Very difficult. I think I'm a very transparent person. I think most people know a lot about me.
I don't think so. But can you just think of one little tweet that you can have, just real quick?
That's people don't know about me.
Yes.
Very emotional.
So how do you deal with negative press?
I have my own defense mechanisms. I think that it depends on what the negative press is about. If it has to do with business, we would basically set up as a team, see what the implications on our business is, and then respond. Now, more pieces here that are interesting. Obviously, this is the Doba, and of course, you can see the Emir of Kano, different excerpts of the book of the Doba. A great piece out here by Acesss. But this is particularly interesting, and I think it's interesting and it's one of my favorites. We normally have the marathon every year, and this is actually the marathon live, captured by the drones. So these are people, last year we had well over 200,000 people running. So these are all people, but I think this is on the 10-kilometer stretch. So it was captured by the drone, and if you don't look well, you can't tell. But this is straight from the last marathon.
All right, this is a huge space. You're definitely a successful man, Mr. Wigwe. What does success mean to you?
I don't know about being successful. Well, it's a relative thing, but I think my greatest success will be my people. You can only be as successful as your people and what you like, but I think, quite frankly, each time we have Acesss people doing great things, it means quite a lot to all of us. And to me personally.
What would you like to be remembered for?
What would I like to be remembered for? As one who contributed in creating one of the largest financial institutions in the continent, one that basically helped build an institution that will be remembered over time, all right, as an institution that will be able to compare favorably with all the other large and successful financial institutions in the world. That is one aspect that has to do with my career.
What is your proudest moment?
Difficult to tell. There has been several. I think one of them obviously was, on a personal basis, my first son's graduation, and for no other reason but seeing your first, that you put in a lot of effort doing well in school.
What is your biggest learning experience?
Several. How complex the human being is. While the human being is the most perfect machine, he represents a very, very complex, construct in terms of their thinking, in terms of expectations and emotions and all of that. And it's just coming through several things which we've had to do in terms of combinations and all. But it's nothing. And of course, the most important thing is that there's no favor you can do to anybody or that can be repaid, or any favor that's been done to you that you can repay.
Random question. Whose career do you admire and respect the most?
I think there are several people who've done well, and it doesn't have to be in the field of banking. I've seen people who have excelled as business people. Obviously, one of the most important institutions in this country, and one that we remain extremely proud of, is the Dangote institution. So several people who have worked there, starting from the founder, Mr. Dangote, is definitely a mentor and one we look up to. I think in the context of our institution and banking, there are other people who've done exceedingly well. Mr. Fola Adeola, Taya Deroko are real role models. My partner, Aigboje Aig-Imoukhuede. So these are people who have done very well in their careers and have, apart from financial services, done other great things that are worthy of emulation.
All right, I'm going to ask you a really fun question, but I think we could do that in the gallery. So, what do you consider the most overrated virtue?
I think love is, and the simple reason is that you can love several people. You can love your children, you will love your spouse, you can love your staff. They're all worthy of being loved, and so sometimes people use the word in a manner that I just think is overrated, because you must be able to show it to several different stakeholders and people and family and staff, etc. That for me is what it is.
All right. If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
I wouldn't be able to, so I don't have much to do. So I would like to keep myself the way I am.
What do you consider your most treasured possession?
My wife, obviously. My wife, obviously.
Fantastic. And why is that?
My strongest asset and my greatest cheerleader and my greatest strength, by far.
What song would you probably be caught dancing to?
I don't know, not in 2019, I can't remember.
No shaku shaku for us right now?
No.
Okay, no. What is a typical lazy day for you?
Very few. I'm not, I don't find myself in those circumstances, but let me tell you what I'd rather be doing if I'm not working. I would be in a spa, I would be in the gym, I could be having a massage for several hours. Yes, that would be my lazy day, obviously.
What are the 3 things you can't live without?
Very difficult question. I think my children and my wife, which is basically my family, that would be the starting point. If I can't find a sanctuary where I'll be at peace with myself, to pray and things like that, it will be a very difficult thing. And obviously, I like my people around me and people that I work with. The day I can't do anything, I can't work anymore, I think my life will be in tatters.
So, your family, your sanctuary, and your work.
Yes, very important to me.
Fantastic. What's your favorite fashion trend right now?
Just simple, being simple and classic.
I think you look quite simple, but dapper as well.
That's to you.
Are those Louis Vuitton shoes?
No, I don't even know where they got them from.
What's your idea of perfect happiness?
Spending time with my children. Definitely.
All right. What's your greatest fear?
Failure. A bank run, for instance.
Failure certainly does not seem in the horizon for Mr. Wigwe. So to discover more on his strive for success, we sat down for an in-depth look on the bank's tremendous achievement, his ambition to elevate thousands of children from poverty, and the bank's contribution to the Nigerian creative industry. Mr. Herbert Wigwe, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining me today. I'd like to start with your tremendous achievement. Access Bank have gone from the 69th largest lender in 2002 to becoming the largest bank in Africa by numbers, with about 29 million customers. Is that right?
That's correct.
What does it mean for you to head the largest bank in Africa?
Humbling, but I think what is more important is the fact that, one, we have a very, very strong team. It is a result of the work of several people. We have 25,000 staff. Having the largest customer base at 29 million is something we're proud of. But I think what is more important is the fact that we take inspiration from our comparator banks who are also doing great things as far as financial inclusion is concerned, as far as digitization is concerned, and all of that. And of course, as far as the efficiencies of their own numbers is concerned. So what we are more about now is what are we going to do to alter the customer experience of all 29 million customers and growing. I think that number will approach 50 million or perhaps 60 million over the next 3 years. I want to show that together with the rest of the industry that we can actually deepen the markets out here in Nigeria and across the continent and show that coming out of Africa, we can create a true global brand that will stand side by side with global comparator institutions, whether it's HSBC, whether it's JP Morgan, whether it's Citibank, etc. Only then can we see true development in our continent and in our country more specifically, because the banks will be of sufficient scale, size, and scope to ensure that there's great economic development in our country.
I'd like to take you back to the time that you were an employee at GT Bank. Would you say that you've always had the vision to head a bank? Has it always been a vision of yours? Or did you just stumble upon it while you were at GT Bank?
The truth? Absolutely. Even the choice of banking as a career. And we'll speak to that in a little while. But I think one of the greatest opportunities and things that happened to us was to be blessed with great leaders, very strong ethical leaders and mentors. And that was Fola Adeola, Tayo Aderoku. Young as we were in our very early 20s. They gave us a plain piece of paper to run a bank. I mean, it was unheard of. And they empowered us and just let us do what we wanted to do. It created the foundation for everything that we've done. You are always a function of people you meet, the values that you see, and all of that. They instilled in us most of the values we've had as adults in terms of running a bank and how we see our vision for whatever institution we had. Those 12 years in GT were great years under the leadership of two outstanding professionals, and they truly, truly helped us. Now, they gave us also at different points in time, truly, the mantle of leadership to run the bank, in fairness. And these were clear delegations. They did not call from overseas to say, why did you sign this? Why did you approve this? They actually left the bank for us to run. So in a way, it was a great thing. But of course, the downside is the fact that you are creating monsters who now know how to do it. All right? And that was what happened. But we remain ever so grateful and privileged to have worked with them. So the instincts were there, in fairness, in terms of the desire to run an institution, but the confidence building process truly happened there. And having been given the opportunity to do it, all right, it was clear to us that we could truly run a bank, even as young as we were.
And when you say we?
I'm talking about my partner and I.
Your partner and you. Okay, so when was that moment? When was your aha moment for both of you? When was the time that you said, okay, we're leaving, we're doing this now?
I'll share with you. Very difficult, but I'll share as much as is possible. I went to Harvard on a program, a very interesting program, because that program gives you enough time to reflect on your future and all. And he was there for what was about 3 months. He came back, and I was going on the same program a few weeks after. But just before then, we were watching the institution grow, and we told ourselves, can we create another oasis of sanity in the country? Can we replicate what is here, but a bit different? And we were just thinking about it. So just before I was about leaving for my program, he said, but I think we should do it. And I said, it didn't take me 1 second. I said, I'm all for it. So I went on that program, which was a 3-month program. And of course, every day, the only thing I thought of doing was, how are we going to do this? Now, let me tell you what that program does for you. You also met young people about your age who were doing the same thing internationally. And so you're in class and you're asking, wait a minute, this person, I'm at least as good as this person or even better. Why won't I do the same thing where I come from? So a lot of introspection in 3 months actually creates and builds that bubble within you. And so when I came back, we just said, let's go ahead and do this thing. Now, obviously, the next question people would ask is, was there a fear of failure? You know the truth, it never occurred to us at any point in time that it was not going to work.
So the bank unveiled its new identity this year. And what would you say was the greatest achievement that came out of the merger between former Diamond Bank and Acesss Bank?
It was very clear what we wanted from the very beginning. At the beginning of this current 5-year corporate strategic plan, we had shared with the markets the fact that we're going to pursue a very aggressive retail growth plan, that we're going to pursue digitization, something we're already doing, and all of that. Now, Acesss Bank had built a strong, solid wholesale bank. We had started through digitization to pursue our retail structure. Now, what former Diamond had done was that it had focused largely on the retail business, particularly as far as financial inclusion and all of that is concerned. And in fairness to them, they're the fastest growing retail bank and had built a strong digital base and platform to support it. So we felt that bolting it onto what Acesss had was going to create an institution that would serve every customer from the very top all the way down to the last mile. So for us, this fusion was going to ensure that a couple of things would be done. First of all, we'll be rendering service to the largest corporates, but more importantly, the SMEs will be served differently, catered for, supported financially by way of funding, loans, but more importantly, through capacity building, which was one of Diamond's greatest strengths.
So in terms of the creative industry, I know that Acesss Bank has a Nolly fund dedicated to the Nollywood industry. And the bank is heavily invested in the art scene, which I'll get to in a bit. Do you have any other funds available for the creative industry besides the Nolly fund?
We're cutting across the whole spectrum. Let me share with you how we got into all of this. Now, I keep saying that we're always a function of our experience and our history. You know, we have to rewrite our history we have to rewrite the narrative, rather, through which Africa is looked at, more specifically Nigeria. When you go out, the only thing people think about Nigeria is around corruption, it's about poverty, it's about disease, it's about sickness, etc., which is not true. Several things have been said and done in Nigeria that the world needs to emulate. If you go outside this country, we have several Nigerians who are doing several things, great things across the world, nothing chronicled about or nothing written about them. Okay? So we have to change this narrative through which we are looked at. So we felt, even before it became something that the central bank started pushing aggressively, that the best way to do this was to use the creative arts, to use music. Nigerian music is loved everywhere in the world. To use Nollywood, all right? Go across this continent. You know, if you were any of those superstars in that whole thing, everybody recognizes you, even internationally. We started the Born in Africa Festival. Yes. All right, the Born in Africa Festival picks great Africans who have done things across the world, or particularly more within the continent, and showcases them. And we do it every Christmas. All right, and it brings thousands and thousands and thousands of people here. So it does two things. Number one, if well captured as we do now, people start to see Africa differently. All right, people now visit Africa, visit Lagos, go to Zanzibar, go to Ghana, all seeking for all of this entertainment. All right, and then, all right, apart from that, our artists are exposed to world-class best practice, meet their colleagues internationally, and they cope very, very, very well. So apart from the Nolly Fund, we do the same thing with Acesss, with Tokene Peterside. Right. All right, we have great artists, several. We have the great masters. We have young aspiring artists who are also great and can hold their own anywhere in the world. We've done the same thing for music. We've done the same thing in the movie industry, as I mentioned. So it's not just the Nolly Fund. We have things that cut across the entire sector. We have the same thing for fashion. All right, fashion was not one of our high points in the past, but it's one that we are pursuing aggressively now.
But do you see how I'm smiling while you're saying that?
Because it's something that is dear to
Absolutely, very dear to my heart.
You know, in pursuing all of this, we've also seen countries that have come here to start making a great effort. The French are doing great things with us, and we're basically taking it and doing things in France, more in terms of improving the quality of things we do. And you know, they're very techy, all right? So the nature of cameras, the quality, and, you know, all of those things. What does this thing do? It employs a huge amount of people. Absolutely. People don't understand. If we pursue that creative sector properly, I think you will see it generating employment, 5 million to 10 million people over the next 5 years, particularly if the entire industry does it. Two, you have great Nigerian talent, people who are doing all sorts of things as far as IT is concerned. It can be a big, veritable source of foreign exchange, if you get the point I'm making. So little things like that can help support the growth in our GDP without taking money necessarily from overseas. You know, and of course, making sure people are employed, all right, the social benefits, etc., etc. So those are the things that have driven us into all of those things. But by the way, the central bank is now formalizing it within the entire financial services sector. And of course, under the auspices of Governor Emefiele, the whole idea is that banks must start to support this actively. Not everybody has the same ethos or the same strength or the same passion for it, but some of us have always loved it. And
you have a foundation that deals with education, health, and youth empowerment. Yes. That's right? Can you talk to us about that?
Well, again, the idea is I do have a few things that I'm passionate about children. Ask me why I don't know, but I've always been like that. I've spent time with less privileged children, and I've seen the pain that they go through. I know issues around health and all of that I'm very conscious about. So I basically started to do something along the lines where I do have some form of passion. And there are other areas, and we'll speak to it at a larger level, enterprise level, which kind of mirror what I'm doing, at least while I'm still in formal executive position. So if you go out, I believe that every child is the same. That child that you see begging on the streets on Acesss Odogun, not any different from any other child. It's opportunity, it's exposure. Just double click on your life 2 or 3 or 4 generations. You find out you're not different from those children. If given the opportunity, they can be anything. If you take them, you show them love, they will not be any different from you. So when you are faced with certain circumstances and you go to those places and you see children who are going through great pain, depending on the kind of person you are, you can be sufficiently moved to do something that has to do with all of that. So the youth employment empowerment comes from little children that you're building up. Health issues are also important to me, but where does education feature is still with those children. Education is a critical part of it. We've done things in the most very interesting neighborhoods in Makoko, where sewage is running through schools. You have to go and help them. And you see the difference between a child who has started going to school, even for 1 week, from the other child who's there. It's on the difference is 100%. So as all of these things are intertwined, but it is more geared towards children.
I know that you also have funding for female empowerment as well. Yes. I know that Diamond Bank also was focused on female empowerment. Yes. Now with this new merger, what sort of programs do you have for female entrepreneurs?
We cover the entire spectrum. We cover female professionals. We help women who probably have just got to have children and have come back into employment. We help them settle and to start their own business. We have the maternal health care support scheme, which basically helps people complete families. In Africa, if you have a problem completing your family, before you know, they say it's the woman's fault. Meanwhile, most of the time, it's actually the man's fault. So we help the couples, all right, by providing facilities at subsidized prices to enable them, go and complete their families. The issue about female empowerment is one that we've always done. We come from a continent where, depending on where you come from, all right, women were seen as the weak gender. Meanwhile, that's not exactly true. Educationally, it's not true. All right, in terms of performance of female children, whether it's in all-girls schools compared to co-ed schools or compared to all-boys schools. So how can all of a sudden that has become the weaker gender, if you get the point I'm trying to make? And we felt that we needed to champion that whole thing. We worked with some other institutions that were doing female empowerment in other parts of the world, and we came back and then we created what was now the W Initiative. Now, W Initiative is about inspiring, it's about connecting, it's about empowering women. So it goes completely beyond money. Money is still there, but helping a woman in distress. I want to see a female doctor. I will need a site to reach out to a female doctor. Things like that. I need a female lawyer. I'm having issues, if you get the point I'm trying to make. How do we make sure that they're kept within their comfort zone to achieve all of those things that women truly desire? Now, it also comes down to the workplace, making sure that women are kept in the most appropriate circumstance, if you get the point I'm making. So those are all the things we've done. Now, we're pursuing this agenda, and I think clearly we're the leaders as far as all of this is concerned. And we also had a very interesting proposition. Women represent 50% of our population, and they determine income of the family, or at least the savings for most people. So if you've captured all of them, by definition, you've locked down 50% so we're doing it. Diamond Bank, in fairness, we're also trying to do the same thing. So this combination has basically locked down the entire female population. If you are a woman and you don't bank in Acesss, honestly, I don't know where you can be doing your business.
We're just finishing my signature right now. I'm done with my other bank. It's just Acesss now. From now.
That's the whole thing. Yes.
I see that you have been able to manage a successful family. How are you able to merge your, great family life and run such a successful bank?
I think I'm lucky. I think I'm privileged that I have a great wife who tolerates me. Because I don't think I'm an easy person, given the amount of hours we put at work. You obviously, in creating any family, would have to share what you're doing. I mean, when I'm talking about sharing, it doesn't have to be to the most minute detail. You have to marry somebody who understands your aspirations, understands what you want to achieve in life, and identifies with it. If you have somebody who is diametrically opposite, obviously you have a situation. All right, and I think that is the basis, that is the beginning and foundation for everything. And once you have the right value system, I think it would work. However, everybody would have pressure from time to time, certainly with the amount of work hours. But I think if there's trust, if there's love, if there's companionship, it would help to mitigate some of those situations. But I think I've been fortunate and I have somebody who truly understands me.
Mr. Herbert Wigwe, thank you so much for joining me on this program. You've been fantastic. With a successful family life and a strong determination for female empowerment, there is no doubt that Mr. Wigwe's legacy will mark the turning point for emerging bank CEOs in Africa.